Friends, do y'all believe in immortality? You don't? Well, while I was minding my business being nosy, I hadn't found out something I think you want to know about. Okay. Now I'm going to cut straight to the chase. You know, throughout history, we hear stories about people living forever all the time. We hear about it in Cain and Abel to start with, where Cain was cursed to walk around the earth for the rest of eternity as a vagabond, never being able to go on to glory. That sucks. You see it in all these depictions of movies of vampires. The Vampire Diaries. The originals. I love the originals. Ooh, I love the Niklaus? Niklaus Michelson? Yeah, that was a good show. That was, when they gonna bring that back? Why they send that on? I love me a good vampire series. But we see stuff like that all the time. But have y'all ever heard of the story of the Count of St Germain? I bet, have you, friends? Well, you ain't heard me tell it, so stay tuned. Now, the Count of St Germain was said and rumored to have been the son of a prince of Transylvania. Ain't that where the vampires from? We're going to have to look and see where that started at. Where did that rumor start, or that story origin start, that the vampires come from Transylvania? Child, I don't know. However, every person who's had an interaction with him or conversation with him, child, they all say that this man tell them verbatim that he been around forever, for years and years and years. Now, some accounts say that he tells them that he's 300 years old, while others says that he knows history like nobody's business, and as if he was actually there when it happened. Now, y'all know I love me a good history lesson, but if you got first person point of view, I want to know how was you there? Now, some account says that he was actually there when Jesus turned the water into wine at the wedding in Cana. Now listen, this is what makes it even crazier. Now, they also say that he was present at the Council of Nicaea in 325 AD, but I'm gonna tell you what got me. I'm going to tell you what got me up in the tizzy. Now, there's a story, ain't in the Bible, but there's a story that come from the West where people, you know, they travel, they get on their boats, they tell their stories. That apparently there was a man that walked up to Jesus while he was carrying his cross and told him to stop resting and keep moving. Now, this is when he had the cross on his back and he stopped and tried to get some rest and tried to take a break. And there was a man that came up to him and told him, stop resting, keep moving. Now, that man's name was Cartophilus. Allegedly, the story goes, at that moment, Jesus looked at him and said, I will get my rest soon, but you will not rest until I return. I got chills. I got chills. Now, it said that Cartophilus, like Cain, is roaming the earth and he cannot go on to glory. In 1228, there was an Armenian bishop who had claimed to have eaten dinner with Cartophilus. Now, Cartophilus would have been around during the crucifixion of Jesus. So how he's still here in 1228? Now, hear me out. There are so many stories that this person, this Count of St Germain, knows that he should not, that make people think that, maybe he has been around forever. Now, originally, he first steps up onto the scene in England in 1745. So in 1745, he's actually arrested for them thinking that he was a spy and having something to do with espionage. And it was going through a whole lot. Y'all know the United States became a country in 1776. There was a lot of back and forth and strife between Europe and United States at the time, which weren't the states, it was the colonies. But there was so much going on. And in 1745, he got locked up in the slammer. And while he was in there, they didn't know where he was from. They didn't know who he was. He wouldn't tell them when he was born. He wouldn't give them a name that they believed. And he also spoke 5 languages. He spoke French, Russian, German, English, all these languages. Did I name 5? French, Russian, German, English, and Dutch. That's what it was. Dutch was the last one. And so people were really concerned about who this mystery man was and how he was so charming and so smart and spoke all these languages. No one knew who he was, but they all knew that he was around the age of 45. So after some time, they end up losing him. Now, I don't know if he was released from prison or what, but basically the king at the time called for him to come to him because he wouldn't know who this man was speaking all these languages. They say he looked good. He around 45. They don't know where he from. He's so smart, and he claims to be an alchemist. So the king said, send for him. And he was gone. Poof, vamoose, in the wind. No one knew where he was. So it was at that point that we see the timeline of the Count of St. Germain starting. Now, what seems so odd about him is he is present at every important event in time. Like he says he was there at the time Jesus turned water into wine. He's saying that he's been around for quite some time. He's been at beheadings and all kinds of things like that. So everybody just happens to see him with all the up-to-do people. He's very wealthy, very well dressed, very well spoken, and he was a ladies' man, although the Count of St. Germain claims to have never been with a woman. He said he never been with one, never touched one. But he was a ladies' man, and he was a pleaser, and he was very much a conversationalist. So people just would be in awe with him, and every time someone saw him, they would make a count of it by writing it down. And when people would ask him, he would always say that he's around 300 years old. And they would say, it seems like you've been living forever. How do you know these stories? And he would say, that's not far-fetched to believe. I have been. Could you imagine telling somebody, wow, it sounds like you've been around forever, and they look at you and go, I have been. Baby, the blood, that's all, the blood of Jesus, that's all I would have. Go on now, get behind me. I couldn't deal with that. I would be at the parties like, I wrote, oh my God, he's here again. But apparently most people only had one experience with him where they said it was breathtaking. He played instruments, violin, piano. He was just amazing. They say he was ambidextrous. Ooh, that one almost got me. Ambidextrous. He was able to compose music with one hand, writing out music with one hand, while also writing a poem with the other hand. You know how many girls you could have had? Count of St. Germain. Folks would have been balling their panties up and throwing them at. Did they wear panties back then? That's a good question. We talking about 1700s. Maybe they had. Somebody tell me in the comments, were they wearing panties? Now, the Count of St. Germain claimed to have known Henry VIII, Cleopatra, Jesus. He said he was around during so many different important time periods in history. And he had firsthand knowledge of these events. Now, of course, someone could have read a bunch of books and he could have been somewhere where he had access to all these books. But we're talking about during the 1700s. There's no internet. He couldn't get online and Google what he needed to know. He would have had to have been a well-traveled person who spent most of his life simply traveling and reading books and learning and retaining this knowledge. But that still doesn't explain this one incident I'm getting ready to tell you about, friends. In 1760, a woman by the name of Countess von Gregory, who was the older woman, happened to be attending a well-to-do party where she heard St. Germain was going to be there. And when she got to this party, she was able to identify the Count of St. Germain. And she says, oh, I recognize him because I knew him back in Venice in 1710. So she goes up to him and she says, my God, you haven't aged a bit. You must be the son of the Count of St. Germain. And the Count says, no, I had the pleasure of going to court with you in 1710. It's me, baby, in the flesh. It was me. I don't have no kids. I ain't touched no woman. And she was taken aback and astonished because he seemed to have not aged at all, where he was the same age, around 45. Now, multiple accounts from different sources and people in different parts of Europe all say that he's around the same age of 45. Now, according to the Count, he had mastered alchemy and he had discovered how to create the Philosopher's Stone. See, I thought the Philosopher's Stone came from Harry Potter. No. Folks been trying to make it. It's supposed to be the elixir to life. Whoever drinks it should have immortality. So I guess around the age of 45, apparently he had discovered how to create it. He had also discovered how to create projection powder. Now, this powder is supposed to be able to turn anything into whatever you want it to. He said he had discovered how to create gold from lead. He can melt down diamonds. He was just a big alchemist. Now, y'all know about alchemy if y'all ever heard of the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, where they talk about the Philosopher's Stone and the elixir to life and their immortality. Apparently, he read the book and knew how to do it, child. I don't know the recipe. I heard one time somebody said something about it had some pea or something that they boiled and distilled over and over. Child, I don't know. I'm not trying it. Don't y'all do it neither, friends. So anyway, apparently he had learned all of these things and created the elixir to life, which is the Philosopher's Stone. He drank it and he's saying that he is immortal. Now, he traveled about Europe doing all of these wonderful acts and people were just impressed by him and his ability to be able to do so much. He was like Prince on steroids that was an alchemist, and also Michael Jackson, and also just amazing is all I can say. In 1784, in February, apparently, he went on to glory, shut the eyes for the long sleep, and he was gone. Vamoose again. Or was he? Apparently in 1789, there was a lady by the name of Countess d'Adamar. Now, I don't speak French, and I may have messed it up, so don't come for me, but it is what it is. Now, Countess says that she saw the Count of St Germain. And not only did she see him, but he told her what was to come in 1821, and he was also present for the beheading of Marie Antoinette. Again, another important event, he's there. This woman also said that he looked to be no more than his mid-40s in age. Later on, there's a separate account from an entirely different person. In 1821, Albert Van Dam wrote that he met someone that had a striking resemblance to St. Germain, but his name was Major Fraser. But this man also was so talented and seemed as though he had been around forever that people would honestly say that he was St. Germain. Now, the last sighting of St. Germain was in 1972. I know y'all was going to think this is going to be a long, long time ago. 1972 do seem like it was a little while back there. But there was a man by the name of Richard Chaffrey. Now, Richard Chaffrey claimed to have been St. Germain himself, and he was also doing alchemy on live TV, turning lead into gold. And he made sure that there were elements that were controlled, meaning that he had no control over if he brung his own lead turning gold equipment. He got some things from the actual studio, but he performed these acts on TV and showed it to people. And he did have a striking resemblance to St. Germain. The issue is that he ended up passing away. Or did he? I don't know, friends. Have y'all ever heard stories about someone being immortal? Or do you think that maybe it's just a time traveler? It's a person just telling stories, or, you know, maybe the person doesn't exist. I just don't think that many coincidences can happen, because y'all know me and y'all know I do not believe in coincidences. Ain't no way, no how, no sir. Now, if y'all want to hear more stories like this, please let me know. Drop down in the comments and tell me. Make sure you like the video, subscribe, share. It ain't gonna cost you nothing, friend. I ain't asked for no money. Yeah, that was a joke. Not really. Not really, friends. Anyway, friends, if you really my friend, you would like the video, share it, subscribe, comment, turn on your notification bell so you'll get notifications every time I upload videos like this. And I really hope I ain't got y'all up in too much of a tizzy, and I'm gonna call you back later on. Bye, friends.